In the dead of night, a shadow slipped into the hospital room of a dying man, the father of someone I'd come to call family. By morning, the doctors had no explanation. They just kept calling it a miracle. And while Korea whispered about the impossible recovery, I was already across the sea, saying my farewell to Japan. AI Anime and Manga presents Solo Leveling. If you're enjoying the Shadow Monarch's rise, a like really helps the channel. And tell me in the comments what you'd do with an army of shadows. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and channel members get every chapter early. Secretary Kim gently said, "Let's go home for today."
Okay.
Jinho and Secretary Kim left Chairman Yu's hospital room. Neither of them noticed part of the shadow beneath Jinho's feet separating and flowing back into the room right before the door closed. The door clicked shut. The lights automatically turned off. Time passed, and in the middle of the night, with no visitors around, the shadow crawled out from under Chairman Yu's bed. It took the form of an ant shadow soldier. Its eyes lit up when they landed on Chairman Yu. The ant soldier smacked its lips. Before it could do anything else, I pulled it back into the shadows and replaced it with myself by activating Shadow Exchange. I had concealed myself with stealth before the switch, but I still scanned the room carefully. The room was pitch black, but with my perception stat maxed out, I could see everything as clearly as if it were daytime. I checked for a security camera. I don't see any. The only other humans nearby were the 4 bodyguards stationed outside the door. Short of Chairman Yu suddenly waking up and screaming at the sight of me, I was in the clear. I turned off stealth. My invisible body materialized, gradually taking shape. I was taking extra precautions because I wanted to avoid accidentally revealing the existence of the Elixir of Life. Not too long ago, Chairman Yu had tried to entice me with a blank check and an offer to grant any favor within his power. Had he done this out of the kindness of his heart? Of course not. Successful businessmen know how to calculate profit and loss to their advantage, and Chairman Yu was unparalleled in Korea. He was a natural-born businessman who had inherited a small company from his parents and grown it into a Fortune Global 500 company. He knew exactly what a cure for his illness was worth, and he had simply made me the best offer imaginable. But not every person was as fair as Chairman Yu. Desperation often led people to foolish mistakes, and there was no need to introduce another source of conflict into the world. For that reason, I wanted to keep the Elixir of Life a secret. I also was not naive enough to risk potential disaster for the sake of a close friend's relative. How many people out there would carelessly reveal such an item just because someone asked? Instead, I had bided my time. The delay had not caused Chairman Yu further harm, nor would it alter the effectiveness of the treatment. To be frank, the only losers would be the shareholders in Yujin Construction who sold their stock as soon as they heard about Chairman Yu's hospitalization. Is this why people say the stock market is all or nothing? I grinned and removed one of the 5 bottles containing the Elixir of Life from my inventory. I knew what it was like to lose a parent, so using one of these for Jinho's sake felt like a no-brainer. The poor guy was crying and everything. I propped up Chairman Yu's torso, opened his mouth, and slowly poured out the elixir drop by drop. Chairman Yu swallowed the medicine as if his unconscious body knew this was his only chance for survival. He coughed. I laid Chairman Yu back down on the bed and put away the empty bottle. Just like my mother, the chairman's complexion returned to normal, and his weak heartbeat gradually grew stronger. I nodded in satisfaction. There we go. The Elixir of Life had worked like a charm. The only thing left to do was get out of the room before Chairman Yu woke up. I stood by the door and used stealth. One guard muttered, "Huh?" Another stammered, The sound of the automatic door startled the guards. Then they saw something 1,000 times more shocking than the door opening on its own. Chairman Yu had sat up. One guard froze and stammered, "What?" Another shouted, Mr. Yu." One of the flabbergasted guards yelled at the top of his lungs, "Doctor! Doctor!" As he ran to get a medical professional, his 3 partners rushed into the room. The remaining guards called out, "Chairman Yu!" Another guard asked, "Are you okay?" The chairman looked very relaxed, as if he had enjoyed a good night's sleep. He blinked at them and asked, "What's all this fuss? Who are you people anyway?" One of the guards tried to answer, "We're..." Chairman Yu cut them off as he took in his surroundings. No, wait. He recognized the VIP hospital room reserved for patients with eternal sleep. the room he had prepared as soon as he received his initial diagnosis. That means... no way. Chairman Yu asked, "Did I pass out and wake up again?" The chairman looked toward the sound of the door just in time to see the other side of the glass wall slowly shut. The elevator door opened. I saw a herd of doctors dashing toward Chairman Yu's room before I stepped inside the lift. Now that I thought about it, Jinho's birthday was this month. It's a little early, but happy birthday, Jinho. A cure for his father might be the best birthday gift of all. Satisfied, I hit the button for the first floor. A man who had stepped in behind me paused when he saw the button light up on its own. Well, that's freaky. I still had stealth activated, so it looked like the man was alone in the elevator. Unnerved, he ran out, muttering, "Oh hell no." "I'm sorry, sir." I apologized mentally as I jabbed the button to close the doors. When the elevator began to move, I decided to check one of my skills. Skill info. The system window read, Skill, Shadow Exchange, Level 2. Job exclusive skill, no mana required. The caster may switch locations with a designated shadow soldier. Once used, the caster may activate it again only after a 3-hour cooldown period. Wait times can vary depending on skill level. The skill could be used again after 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 11 seconds. 1 hour and 54 minutes? The 11 seconds aside, I had about 2 hours to kill before I could use Shadow Exchange again. I still had a couple of giants from which I wanted to extract shadows, so I needed to return to Japan. Since I had left a shadow overseas, I would be able to do that as soon as the cooldown ended. The problem was figuring out what to do in the meantime. I can't go home. How would my mother feel if I came back from a week in Japan only to return there 2 hours later? I could practically picture her expression. The elevator doors opened on the first floor. I debated what to do once I left Seoul Ilshin Hospital. Then an idea struck me. Should I look for a dungeon that hasn't been claimed? I deactivated stealth and expanded my perception. I sensed 4 or 5 gates in the vicinity, then looked up their information on the association's smartphone app. Aha! To my delight, 2 of the gates had not been reported yet. The driver said, "Miss Yu, we're here." Jinhee answered, "Thank you." Jinhee, Chairman Yu's eldest daughter, had returned to the hospital after escorting her distraught mother home. When she had first found out about her father's illness, it had felt like her whole world was crumbling, but she had believed her father's reassurances. Her father had told her, "I'm searching high and low for a cure and think I have a good lead, so don't worry." Had anyone else claimed they could find a treatment for their terminal disease, Jinhee would not have believed it for a second. But this was Chairman Myunghan Yu, the colossus of Korea's financial sector, so she had held on to hope despite the dire situation. And yet, she wiped her tears as she recalled how her father had tried to hide his grief when she moved overseas. If she had known things would turn out this way, she would have given up studying abroad to spend more time with him. Suddenly, someone familiar passed by her. A thought flickered through Jinhee. Hey, isn't that... She had definitely seen him somewhere. But before she could remember where, the man pulled down on his hood and quickened his pace as if he could feel her stare. Jinhee curiously watched him walk away, before hastily moving on. Whoever he was, his identity was unimportant. As she anxiously waited for the elevator doors to open, her cell phone rang. In the empty hospital lobby, the chime sounded louder than usual. Jinhee did not recognize the number. She normally would not pick up such calls, but considering how crazy the last 24 hours had been, she felt she should. Who could it be? She put the phone to her ear and answered, "Hello?" The doctor on the phone said, "Hello, this is Seoul Ilshin Hospital. We're contacting you because we couldn't reach your mother." They had given her mother a sedative to put her to sleep, so that tracked. But what was going on? The unexpected call from her father's primary doctor frightened Jinhee. She cautiously asked, "Did something happen?" The doctor hesitated. "The thing is, Chairman Yu..." As she listened, her eyes widened. It had to be a lie. Did the doctor really think she would buy this? She fought back tears as she asked, "Are you sure?" The doctor said, "If I hadn't seen it with my own 2 eyes, I wouldn't have believed it either. It's extremely rare for patients in the final rest stage to wake up. In any case, please get here as soon as you can. We're not sure when Chairman Yu will fall back asleep." Jinhee blurted out, "Please hold on, I'm already at the hospital." The elevator doors opened right on time, and Jinhee practically threw herself through them. She had never thought in a million years. Could this be real? The short elevator ride felt like an eternity. When the doors opened again, she made a beeline straight for her father's room, and was met by the sight of the old man turning to see who it was. Without a doubt, it was him from head to toe. Jinhee cried, "Dad!" Surrounded by doctors, Myunghan took in the sight of his daughter and murmured, "Jinhee?" Jinhee cried again, "Dad!" She jumped into her father's arms. As he consoled her, it hit Myunghan once again that he had come back from the dead. He was alive. But was this truly some kind of coincidence? Amid the doctors discussing this miracle and his sobbing daughter, Myunghan focused on his heartbeat. How could this be? His heart thudded steadily in his chest. He was well over 50, yet his heartbeat was steady and strong like a man in his 20s. Sure enough, Myunghan's primary doctor was bewildered by his charts. The doctor murmured, "How does any of this make sense?" Myunghan carefully asked, "Is it bad?" The doctor said reassuringly, "Oh, that's not it. Not at all," before posing a question in turn. "Sir, by any chance, did you take your medication for high blood pressure before taking these tests?" Up until last night, Myunghan had been suspended between life and death. After he woke up, he had not had the presence of mind to take his medication. Myunghan answered, "No, I did not." He shook his head. The doctor nodded, as if he had expected this answer, but his expression was troubled. The doctor said, "And yet, your blood pressure is quite stable right now. In fact, you seem healthier than the average person according to these numbers." Chairman Yu was taken aback. What in the world is he talking about? He had expected to die once he entered the final rest stage, but instead, he had awoken to find his high blood pressure cured? The doctor continued to pore over the file. "In addition, all your organs are functioning properly. If I blanked out your age, people would think these were the vital signs of a 20-year-old. How was this possible? The doctor was more stunned than Myunghan himself, despite seeing the evidence with his own 2 eyes. The ink had barely dried on the test results from when Chairman Yu had first been admitted, but here were results with drastically different numbers. How could this be explained? Had Chairman Yu's body been transformed in recent weeks? He had been dying of a terminal disease until just last night. The doctor laid out his conclusion. "I've been a doctor for 30 years, but this is the first time I've seen anything like this. This can only be explained as a miracle." A patient with the eternal sleep disease had woken up from the final rest stage, more physically fit than ever. What else could this be but a miracle? The doctor happily announced his verdict. "Congratulations, sir. Your eternal sleep disease has been cured. You could even run a full marathon this very minute if you wanted to." However, Myunghan did not celebrate just yet. He thought long and hard before asking, "By any chance, are there security cameras in my hospital room?" The doctor asked, "Pardon me? Why do you ask?" Myunghan said, "There is something I want to check. Is there a camera in the room or out in the hall?" The doctor answered, "There's no camera in the room, but there should be one outside." "Perfect." Chairman Yu nodded. He could not chalk this up to coincidence. This was far beyond mere happenstance. Someone with unimaginable power had interceded here, and Myunghan had an idea who it could be. What an enormous debt he now owed. Chairman Yu had never owed anyone anything, and he had no intention of starting now. But how could he repay someone for saving his life? Before any of that, he wanted to confirm his savior's name for himself. Chairman Yu said, "Please show me the security footage from last night." Of course, nothing had been caught on camera. One of the guards said, "The only odd thing was the door malfunctioning right here." One of the guards pointed it out on the screen. The windows had been locked from the inside, so the single entrance into the hospital room had been through the door. The testimonies from all 4 guards matched. They were professional security personnel, so they would not have been slacking on the job. Not even an insect could have entered Chairman Yu's room. Chairman Yu murmured, The possibility of Jinwoo possessing the stealth skill did not cross Chairman Yu's mind, so his thoughts were a jumbled mess. Secretary Kim rushed into the monitoring room. "Sir, I've looked into the matter you requested." Chairman Yu asked, "And?" Secretary Kim eyed the other people in the room and whispered in Chairman Yu's ear, "Well, the association confirmed that Hunter Sung was in Japan at the time. They said he'll most likely return to Korea tomorrow." Chairman Yu had assumed no one except Jinwoo could have accomplished this, but he had to accept that he had been mistaken. It could not have been Hunter Sung. But then why? Despite the evidence to the contrary, he could not quite shake the feeling that it had been Jinwoo. However, if Chairman Yu and Jinwoo had one thing in common, it was that neither of them dwelled on things outside their control. Chairman Yu said, "Understood." He switched the subject. "According to the doctor, I could run a marathon if I wanted, so I'll be back to work tomorrow. Make sure everything is ready, would you?" The chairman was back to his old self. Secretary Kim swallowed a giddy laugh, then brought up another matter. "By the way, Chairman Yu, do you know what the media is saying about you?" The media must have had a field day with the story about the man coming back from the dead. The chairman did not look bothered. "What?" Secretary Kim said, "They're saying you're immortal." Chairman Yu repeated, "Immortal?" Chairman Yu was not one to grin, but he could not suppress his growing smile. Immortal. That was much better than when they called him King Midas or Poker Face. He gave a short laugh. Chairman Yu repeated the word. Immortal. Immortal, huh? It was the perfect way to describe someone who never gave up under any circumstances, even to a terminal illness. Chairman Yu gratefully accepted his second chance and laughed contentedly. Chairman Yu said, "I quite like it." While Korea was abuzz with the news about Chairman Yu, I made it back to Japan and succeeded in collecting all 29 giant shadow soldiers. At last! Emotion rose in me as the giant shadow soldiers lined up in front of me in order of extraction. Tracking down the dead bodies of the giants and collecting their shadows made me feel like I was on a video game quest, but the reward at the end of it was much more satisfying in real life. With 29 dignified giant shadow soldiers on my team, I felt invincible. Too bad one is missing, though. A total of 30 giant-type magic beasts had escaped from the gate, not including the one that had remained to guard it, but one had escaped into the ocean. Still, I felt proud of collecting the other 29. With the giants all gathered there, the destroyed city around them felt almost crowded, but I had not summoned the giant shadow soldiers as decoration. I posed a question to them, who is the strongest among you? I needed a captain to lead the giants, just as Beru, Igris, and Fang commanded their own troops. When the giant soldiers warily gazed at one another and no one came forward, Beru impatiently yelled at them. Beru's roar ripped through the air. The giants shuddered. He had killed several of them and was undeniably stronger than any of the giants, so they feared him. Following Beru's scolding, one of the giants slowly raised his hand. Beru turned to me and bowed, receiving a thumbs up for his work. I said to Beru, "Thanks." And then something happened that neither Beru nor I had expected. A second giant shot his hand up after seeing his colleague do the same. Its expression made it clear that it firmly believed itself better than the other candidate. I let out a small laugh. Ooh. I realized the hesitation had been because the giants themselves had no idea who was strongest. This surprising turn of events made me laugh as I called both giants forward. I called out number 22 and number 6, front and center. Number 6 had especially huge fists, and number 22 looked strong overall. I inspected them closely. Even with my excellent perception, it was hard to tell which was stronger. There was only one way to find out. I smiled brightly. You two ready? The two giants faced each other, determined and unyielding. I gave the signal. Begin. The giants exchanged blows for a while, until number 6 finally managed to send number 22 sprawling and squeaked out a close victory. I announced, "Great. From now on, number 6 is the captain of the giants." Number 6 raised its fists in victory, and the other shadow soldiers cheered. Now that that's settled, I had accomplished everything I had set out to do in Japan. I brought up my stats. Stat window. The system window materialized in front of me. It listed 0 available ability points, physical damage reduced by 65%, passive skills including Unknown at max level, Willpower at level 1, and Dagger Master at max level. My active skills included Flash at max level, Murderous Intent at level 2, Mutilation at max level, Dagger Barrage at max level, Stealth at level 2, and Ruler's Authority at max level. My job-exclusive skills were Shadow Extraction level 2, Shadow Storage level 2, Monarch's Domain level 2, and I took in my progress since coming to Japan, starting with the insane increase in my stats. Everything was pushing 300, and intelligence, The stat I had invested in the most had surpassed 300 a while back. This was the result of rewards from the daily quests I had never missed, the levels gained from hunting giants, and the super expensive defensive gear I had purchased from the system shop. Seeker's Defense Gear Set. Until recently, I had not paid much attention to the items in the system shop. However, since I had no idea how strong these monarchs and rulers were, I needed to find a way to protect myself. If the King of Giants was that strong when weakened, the others could be extremely overpowered. I recalled the angels with 6 wings I had seen in the memories of the Shadow Monarch. If I wanted to survive a fight with them, I needed to get even stronger. My gaze shifted up from the list of items to my level. Level 122. My level had gone up 8 times after defeating a single monarch. I could not even imagine how many levels I would gain once I fought the rest of them. My heart pounded with trepidation, but also excitement.
I'll level up!
The power I gained from leveling up was the weapon with which I protected everything I held dear. My heart leaped again. The pounding of my 2 hearts hurt my ears, but I did not mind the pain. All right then. I sensed someone approaching and recalled my shadow soldiers. The shadows vanished into my own. A helicopter belonging to the Hunters Association of Japan was landing in the near distance, and I happily climbed aboard. For now, it was time to go home. The Japanese government provided me a suite in a 5-star hotel. I had originally planned to decline their hospitality because I could use shadow exchange instead of waiting for a plane. However, I relented after an earnest plea from them. The Japanese officials pleaded, "Please stay. You'd be helping us avoid being scorned for not treating the savior of our country accordingly." This was my first time setting foot inside a hotel that cost 4 million won a night. My initial impression of the suite was amazement at having the huge room all to myself. The furniture looked brand new, as if it had been purchased only yesterday. I walked to the window and looked out over the downtown area. A good view always seemed to increase property value, and I agreed that this one justified the expensive room rate. I can't believe magic beasts almost decimated this beautiful city. I sucked my teeth as I recalled the ruins of Tokyo, but I was glad I had arrived in Japan when I had. I should go to bed now. After camping outside for days on end, a night in a hotel room was bliss. The next day, employees from the Hunters Association of Japan came to fetch me for my flight. My guide greeted me in perfect Korean. "Good day, Hunter-sung. There's a car ready to take you to the airport." And not a moment too soon. I was getting bored of waiting in the hotel room anyway. I picked up the bag I had tossed in a corner. "Let's get going." The guide looked flustered as I made to leave. "Oh, Hunter-sung, do you not have a change of clothes?" I understood his reaction. My battle-worn outfit was stained with blood and sweat. I tried to be careful, but it had been impossible to avoid all the blood gushing from the giants' bodies. I could only shrug. All the clothes I had brought with me were in a similar state. The guide smiled and asked, "Then would it be okay to arrange an outfit for you to wear today?" That sounded more than okay. I had no desire to walk around in blood-stained clothes if I did not have to, or be squirreled away to the airport like a criminal whose identity needed to be concealed. The guide chuckled as he read my expression. "We'll get you something to wear right away. Please wait here." 10 minutes later, a group of men, each carrying multiple sets of suits, paraded into the suite. That was fast. The handler saw my raised eyebrow and cheerfully explained, "We had these prepared in advance just in case." I could barely contain my surprise as I looked over the panoply of suits laid out by size and color. They had been extremely thorough in their preparations. The handler added, "And if you need anything else?" I waved my hand. "No, but thank you." I was more than satisfied with the hospitality I had received up to now, and appreciated the efforts of the Hunters Association of Japan. I inspected the outfits and selected the suit that looked like it would fit me best. I tried it on and checked myself out in the mirror. Perhaps it was because these were high-end threads, but it made me look like a different man. I think this is good. I could not help but smile. I turned around, and the guide exclaimed, "That looks perfect on you, Hunter-sung." I said, "We should get going." The guide answered, "Understood. Our staff will take care of your bags." On cue, 2 men entered and picked up my belongings. The Hunters Association of Japan seemed determined to make sure their savior did not lift a finger. I left the 5-star hotel appreciating the hospitality, got in a black sedan, and headed to the airport. As the car neared the airport, I suddenly realized why the Hunters Association of Japan had been so concerned about my appearance. Through the window, I saw throngs and throngs of people. I was rendered speechless at the sight. My guide excitedly told me, "They're all here to see you, Hunter-sung." There were way too many people for this to be a crowd gathered by the association for show. I asked, "Do you know how many there are?" The guide answered, "We're estimating more than 100,000. I repeated, "That many?" The car carrying me made its way down the barricaded road without incident. Then it turned a corner to reveal an even bigger crowd waiting to welcome me. The guide said, "You're the hero who saved Japan, Hunter-sung." From my point of view, I had simply done what I could. The thing was, nobody else could have accomplished what I had. The citizens of Japan had fallen into despair after witnessing the giants through social media, on TV, and in person. Instead of extending a hand, the international community had collectively agreed that it was over for Japan. But that was when President Gunhee Go of the Hunters Association of Korea, someone more well-known than the Korean president, had made an announcement.
There is one such hunter who wishes to take on the giants.
The many Japanese people watching the live press conference had glued their eyes to the screen with bated breath. The people watching wondered, just who is this hunter? At the question, President Go had brought his lips as close to the mic as possible and replied,
Hunter Jinwoo's son.
My exploits on Jeju Island were already widely known, so the mere mention of my name had people cheering. I had been their last and only hope. A week later, I was headed home, having made good on my promise to rid the country of giants. Naturally, the people of Japan came in droves to see me off. My guide mentioned that were it not for the cleanup of destroyed areas, even more would have shown up. The guide then made a request. "The Prime Minister would really like to meet you, Hunter-sung. Could you please spare some of your time for him?" This was the most serious expression I had seen on my escort, and I guessed he had been pressured by higher-ups to ask. But I refused to do anything I did not want to, so I repeated my usual response. I said, "I don't want to waste my time on anything unnecessary." The handler nodded while trying to stifle a laugh. Understood. As we made small talk, the car pulled up to the entrance. I stepped out of the car as cool as ever. At my appearance, the air exploded in applause. I looked around at the crowd. The crowd shouted, "Hunter-sung!" Others shouted, "Hunter Jinwoo-sung!" Although I did not speak their language, I understood the emotion in their voices, the look in their eyes, and the hand gestures they made. Their immense gratitude and deep admiration were conveyed to me. Beru observed the whole thing from within my shadow.
My king, these subjects are pledging their loyalty to you.
It's not like that,
You wave and acknowledge them, my king.
I said. It's not like that. Where in the world was Beru learning stuff like this? But a question popped into my mind before I could ignore the ant. "Hey, do the other ants like it when you do that?" I could practically see the majestic expression on Beru's face and the pride in his voice.
Of course, my king.
I should have expected that. Beru had the ability to boost the ant soldiers' morale with a single roar. I nodded to myself. If an ant could do it, then the least I could do was greet the people who had traveled to see me. I turned toward the crowd, hesitantly raised my hand, and waved it back and forth. The applause and cheering grew louder. As I did, I noticed that even my guide was enthusiastically clapping with tears in his eyes. People in the crowd shouted, "Thank you!" Others called out, "Thank you, Hunter-sung!" More voices followed. "Thank you so much." The guide wiped his eyes with his sleeve and beckoned to me. "Let's go, Hunter-sung. Your airplane is departing soon." I lowered my hand, but the clapping did not stop. It continued long after I entered the airport and vanished from their view. 100,000 people watched my plane take off. The following day, a renowned Japanese columnist wrote that if the leader of the country were decided solely by support from the people, Japan would have its first ever foreigner as prime minister.